Hi guys, I am jumping on maybe a minute early, maybe not, to do my Facebook Live this morning, the day after Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, it was so nice just to sit down and relax with family. So much family though that I don't get to see the last couple of years since moving to Michigan, and I miss them so much. But talked to them all yesterday and it was fun. So yesterday we did a Thanksgiving breakfast. Our two of our kids went to go with their mom yesterday afternoon, so we decided we're gonna do like a huge Thanksgiving morning breakfast. So it was fun. We had a lot of fun. So anyway, today I am on to talk to you about, actually we're doing a Q&A today. And I figured I would bring on a topic to talk about for this Q&A. So hopefully if anybody can join me today, that would be wonderful. And to see any questions that you have about this topic, I'd love to answer any questions that you have. So first of all, my name is Princella Stringer. I am an empowerment coach for single moms. And the topic that I'm going to talk about are just four top signs that you are ready to do something different. And I'm just going to talk through the things that brought me to the conclusion that I was ready to do something different, and we'll go from there. So first I want to share with you what my mission is. My mission, and you have to forgive me, I'm still looking at my notes. My memory is not where I would love it to be. I used to call it pregnancy brain. I don't know what to call it now, but it's not where I want it to be. So I just put a little PowerPoint on my computer so that I remember everything that I want to say, so that I get it all in order and it makes sense. So, all right, so I want to share with you, first of all, my mission. My mission is to help you focus on your God-given talents. So by connecting the dots to your natural interests, your practiced talents, and your life experiences, we can connect the dots. And this is how we begin to make sense of it all on why you were chosen to be a single mom. I really feel like it's a gift to have this experience, but the most important thing is really knowing where we're at in that experience and how we can bring our best selves to that. And it's not easy, which is why I'm so passionate about working with single moms. So I was pretty blessed. You know, I had a lot of support and I was so thankful for that. Let me rephrase that. At the time, I didn't know how lucky I was. But having a big support system around you, or not necessarily big, but just a strong support system around you is huge to that experience, that life experience. So anyway, if you're anything like me, you got to a point where you recognized that you needed to do something different. And so for me, what did that look like? That looked like getting tons of self-help books, spiritual books that would guide me to, you know, whatever I was trying to figure out and learn. At the time that I started really getting into self-help books, I don't think that I really knew what I was searching for. I just knew that I wanted something different in my life. I'd been working in retail management for years, and when I first started in retail management, I loved it. But there did get a point where I said, I don't think I want to retire here. So I started looking for other ways to build my skills. Went back to school and accomplished my degree. And now at this point, I'm like, okay, I finished my degree, but it really didn't help me get to where I wanted to be. So education is wonderful, served me very well in other areas, but did it line up the path on what I was going to do for a career? No, not necessarily, but it taught me other skills. So anyway, if you're anything like me, you're searching and searching. Next to my bed, I have a ton of books. I wanted to take a picture of it and I couldn't really figure out how to show it to you in this live. But a ton of books there. My bookshelf in the office has a ton of books. What this does for me now is I see these inspirational titles and it leads me to, you know, just remembering, why did I get that book to begin with? And many times it's, you know, I can pop it open and look at something and you know, really get into this book. you have maybe like an audio list that is way too long and you're not able to get through all of those books either. So I do both of those. I have a ton of books and an audio list that goes on and on and on. Audible list. Another thing that I started doing also was just watching live or listening to podcasts, finding podcast titles with captions that really fit what I was looking for, or just inspirational podcasts, things like that. And also inspirational videos. YouTube videos are awesome for having these visually appealing and audibly appealing videos that really inspire you, right? So those two things are the top two things, are signs that you are ready to do something different. Books up the yin yang, Audible list so long, and craving and listening for things that really help you get motivated. So the third thing that I think is a huge sign that you're ready to do something different is that you are done talking about what you're going to do. I really got to a point where I didn't even want to share anymore what my goals were with people, because I would have a goal and either it would shift or change, or I lost interest. It could be one of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's where you are, there's nothing wrong with that. We have a tendency to shift and change what our goals are, and it makes sense because we're learning and growing, and so we alter that, right? Okay, so that's another sign. That's my third sign that I say it's time to do something different. You're just done with that. You have goals and dreams and you want to achieve them, but you're done with talking about them. And then the last thing is that you are tired of a lack of direction in the how-to. Okay, so you get all this information and this inspiration, but what next? What's the how-to? And you're tired of not really finding that direction. So stepping back, I want to go back and talk about the first topic that I brought up about the self-help books and the audio books. Now, I don't mean to knock any of these things that we go through, because they're all important in our growth. They're all crucial to developing ourselves, educating ourselves. If you're on a goal and a mission of figuring out what your life purpose is and finding out what your how to pull together your gifts and talents to figure out what your next phase is in your life as a single mom, the most important thing to do is to educate yourself and learn and grow. All of these are for good things, and the problem is that we wanted to just read one book and go on and conquer our goals. And obviously it just doesn't happen that way. We know that intellectually. On one level, we know that's not the way it works, but on another level, we're kind of hoping it's gonna be like a light switch and click it on. So as I shared before, seeing the book titles, they really motivated me to pick up that book again and take a look at why I wanted to get it to begin with. And I have a couple of go-to books that I reference a lot, and there are some that are classics and some that are newer books, some that are like a trendier outlook, and there was some content in there that really fueled me and helped me. And so I have, a little list of books that I love to keep referring back to. So if you're interested in hearing about that, I'd be happy to send that to you. Just let me know. And I'd be happy to share what particular books did for me along my journey. So one of the things that really helped me, so I started noticing I'm collecting all these books, and not able to actually sit down and read them. So people have asked me, how on earth do you find the time to even get through those books? Well, sometimes I kind of don't have time. So I started to go through a book, and once I found something that motivated me, I'd end up putting it down. And that's not the best thing to do either, because there's so much more insight in the books in completing them. So I thought, I'm going to look it up on Audible. So I'd look it up on Audible, and I'd either decide, am I going to keep it on Audible, or am I going to go back and keep or reference the book? So Audible was huge in getting through some of the material that I wanted to learn and execute in my life. So we'll get to that part in a minute, but the first part was just getting through a book. And what did I do? I noticed that I loved, my doorbell is ringing, but I loved being able to sit in my car and listen in my car just a little bit longer to my audio, or just sit in my car and watch a video, things like that. So you're gonna hear Delilah in the background barking because our doorbell rang. But anyway, another thing I would do is, take that extra quiet time in my car. But another thing I would do too is also just announce to my kids, hey guys, mommy needs some quiet time. I'm gonna go hide out in my office for a minute, or I'm gonna hide out in my dungeon. My dungeon was the bedroom because our basement is our bedroom. So I would announce it to them. Made all of us feel better about knowing who's doing what and why they can't find mommy. And also then I get uninterrupted time. And non-interrupted time. I didn't even say that right. Okay, so the other thing that I would do too, if I really needed a good chunk of time to read or to study something, is that was when I would schedule a play date with their friends, or schedule time to have them go out and visit their family, our family. So that's something that I started doing as well. And I learned to do this guilt-free, I learned to just say, this is important to me, this is what I need to be fueled and energized, and to feel good about myself. So I learned after time that these are guilt-free times that I can do this and enjoy it when I set my kids up right to be busy with what they're doing. Although they're very independent kids, so it isn't too hard to do that for them. I'm lucky that my kids are older. If you have little ones at home, it may mean scheduling some playtime with grandma, and you take advantage of that time, right? So, all right, so that is what I would do to get that time in. And then this brings us to the third point that I had about you being absolutely done with talking about your goals and dreams. Done with talking about your goals and dreams. Honestly, I would talk about them to certain people, and after a little while I started noticing that they really were not that interested. Not that they weren't happy for me or interested in what I was doing, it's just that it wasn't motivating for them. It was all about me. And so on one end, I stopped doing that for that reason. It was kind of selfish. I was just talking about me, my goals and my dreams. And it wasn't serving them. I wasn't able to be present with them the way that I wanted to be able to be present with my family and friends. So I got to a point where I said, okay, well, either I'm going to do something or I'm not going to do something. I have to stop dreaming. I lived in La La Land for quite a while, dreaming of what I was going to do, right? But for me, the next step in doing was recognizing that I had some self-work to do myself, deeper rooted self-work to do. And so that meant asking myself the tough questions. Okay, what is it that holds me back from going after my goals and dreams? What is it that stops me at my tracks when I think about doing something? I have this funny story about my oldest, Anthony, when he was younger, and he was so excited about helping Huita, which that's my mom. Abuelita is grandmother in Spanish, and so we called her Huita for short. And anyway, she was starting a business in her hometown, and she was talking about doing a big deal open house for this business. Now, Anthony is going to be 26 years old at the end of the year, and so this was a long time ago. Anyhow, he wants to help her with this open house, and he says, Huita, I'm gonna plan the whole open house, and I'm gonna do it all for you. And so she's like, okay, great, mijo. So she sits him down and gives him a piece of paper and says, okay, write down the things that you want to do. And so he goes with this piece of paper, he sits down, and he's like, okay, and then nothing comes to mind. I love this story as an example because it happens to us no matter what age we are, no matter what level of experience we have, no matter how strong our goals are, how exciting our goals are. When we sit down to write them down on paper, can we begin forming a plan on paper? And it is not an easy thing to do. So for me, when I sat down to write my plan on paper, I realized that I had to step back a few notches and recognize what I needed to do for myself to grow spiritually, professionally, mentally, intellectually, all these lees, what did I need to do to improve myself, to be ready for what God had in store for me? What is that yet? I still don't know. All I know is that connecting with single moms and sharing my journey and sharing the things that I did to achieve certain things, I'm not, we're always learning and growing, right? That's what I want to say there. But it starts somewhere, and this is where I'm starting. So where are you starting in that journey? I'm still on the journey of self-improvement, always. I'll always be on that journey, and I love that journey. So where are you in that journey? So I'd love to share with you also the next step as far as self-reflective work, and that is something that I do today. I go through ongoing training on doing that. So I've been training and working for this for at least 2 years now, specifically working on developing myself for today. So that is something that I would love to talk more with you about if you're interested in figuring out what the next steps are for that self-work that is so important to achieving your goals. So first thing was first in determining that I even had some self-work to do was recognizing that God has a bigger plan for me. Okay, so that could sound like a lot of fluff talk. God has bigger visions and goals. He knew you before you were even in your mother's womb and what his plan was for you. That can sound like a lot of fluff talk. But when you really, truly believe that God formed you for a purpose, God created you for a purpose, God joined your mother and your father, joined them together because of their gifts and talents to form you. They had their individual purposes. We have our individual purpose. So when you think about the fact that that was intentional, and then your experiences along that journey after, your life experiences after birth are all a part of the plan. Now, we were given free will and freedom to make choices and decisions, so a few monkey wrenches will be thrown into that plan, but the one thing that does not change is that there's still a plan. That does not change. So our journey to it may take a little bit longer, but it does not change. It does not change the fact that there is a plan. And when we get on board with that and we believe that, then we can start making progress toward figuring out the path for that, right? So I'm praying that all of us can be on a journey of figuring that out and that we can enjoy the journey of figuring that out. So, all right, so the last thing that I had talked about was, are you tired of having a lack of direction in the how-to? So I talked about it a little bit just now with the self-work that needs to happen for the finding out your ultimate goal. But for the 4 signs that you are ready to do something different. And so the 4th sign that I have for you is just the fact that you are tired of not having a direction in the how-to. So I got to the point where I was just really tired of this hoopla motivation, rah-rah motivation. Oh yeah, I can achieve, I can do, but then what is the do? And what is the next do after the first do? How do we figure that out? So it goes back to that blank piece of paper where you sit down and you write down the first thing that you think is the to-do, and then maybe you have a sub-list after that on what is to do after that. So if you're feeling not discouragement, I don't want to say that, but just that you're ready for the next step in figuring out the next how-to for you, then that is something that I would love to break down with you. So one of the things to think about with that also is that we are so blessed to be in a day and age where we can find out any kind of information online that we want, anything. How to speak better in front of people, how to ask clearer questions, how to present ourselves, how to brand ourselves, how to present ourselves and ask valuable questions that really pertain to the subject that we're talking about. Many times those are not easy things to do when we're caught up in ourselves. So I used to be really challenged with coming up with off-the-cuff comments and questions because I was so caught up in my own head of am I going to sound intelligent enough? Do I look right? Do I have something in my nose? Do I have something in my teeth? All of these things come into play when we go to speak our truth and speak our mind. Next thing you know, we forget what we were even going to talk about. So that is why it's crucial to begin with what is God's purpose and plan for us, and believing that He actually has a purpose and a plan for us. When we believe that, we don't have to know that we have it in our capability to accomplish. We just have to believe that there is a greater purpose and a plan. And then we do all the to-do work after that and figuring that out. First step is figuring out that there is a plan and believing in it, okay? So the next thing for me, though, was really learning what was I able to figure it on my own, through prayer. Prayer was huge for me. What was I able to figure out on my own and pray about and self-educate, and what did I need to take the next step in paying for? What courses did I need to take? What spiritual guidance did I need that possibly would have a price tag on it? What webinar could I take that would help take me to the next level? Who can I follow on Facebook or Instagram that would only populate and fuel that positiveness that I needed to encourage me to take my next steps? So identifying what could I do in my own will, and sometimes what did I need to pray about, go into deep prayer about, fast through, go to my pastor for, what kinds of questions would I ask there at church, and who would I connect with at church? And then what did I need to really invest the time and energy in my training and development? For instance, in coaching skills, I can have the desire to coach you, but if I don't take the proper training to learn certain skill sets to be able to coach you, I may not be the most effective coach if I don't have the natural ability to do it. For me, it was important to get that training. So that's an ongoing process, always. My self-development and my coaching training and things like that. And it's the same thing for you. Whatever your personal goals are, it'll be a continual, ongoing process of development. So professional and spiritual. So I hope that some of these topics led you to some questions on what your next steps are in your goal setting, and your next steps in taking action. Because if any of these 4 topics sounded familiar to you, I believe that those are signs that you are ready to do something different. So what does that mean exactly? For you, it will be different for everybody. So one of the things that I do offer is a discovery call session. And this can be up to an hour session where I just ask you some questions to help you drill down into what are the things that I want to achieve. And we talk about past experiences and future goals and how they align. So if you're interested in doing something like that with me, leave me a comment or send me an instant message. If you want to keep it private, I totally understand that as well. So reach out and we can just talk. On Facebook here, I will have weekly Facebook Lives. 2 of them are topic oriented, and then Fridays will be Q&As. And so as you have questions, just send them to me so I could be ready with them for the Q&A sessions on Fridays at 11. So again, my name is Princella Stringer, empowerment coach for single moms. And I look forward to seeing you in the next Facebook Lives. So enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Enjoy the time with your family. Just be together, and like, we're going to be playing Jenga and Monopoly and Yahtzee and all the fun games of my childhood youth. So I'd love to hear what you're doing in this holiday season and how you're enjoying this time with your family. So God bless you and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.